Scotland has a long history of both inward and outward immigration, which has influenced, inspired, and shaped the Scottish experience and resulted in a rich and vibrant multicultural population. South Asians has been settling in Britain for at least 5 centuries. Early immigrants were usually motivated by personal interest rather than economic hardship. They came to study, to work as doctors or lawyers, or to start new businesses. During Scotland's colonial involvement, Indian seamen, known as Lascars, were hired in Indian ports as cheap labor to crew merchant ships. Many became stranded in Scotland, unable to find work on return voyages to India. Others sought jobs in ports such as Leith, Greenock, and Glasgow, where they worked as peddlers, traders, and traveling salesmen, gradually developing their own small colonies and the social structures that were to assist later migrants. Women migrants often followed their menfolk to Britain, usually working in domestic and supportive role to their husband, father, or brother. During the 19th and 20th centuries, Scotland experienced several waves of immigration. The Catholic Irish were by far the largest immigrant group during the earlier period. Other groups included English, Asian, and Italians. Towards the end of the 19th centuries, Polish and Lithuanian, including Jewish, arrived in Scotland after fleeing starvation and persecution in Europe. They often tended to make their way to America, only using the United Kingdom as a stopover. After landing to Hull or Leith, they then traveled by rail to Liverpool or Glasgow in order to take a ship to cross the Atlantic. However, many of those travelers remained in the British port cities or went to work in the coal pits and blast furnaces, settling in town in Lanarkshire, Ayrshire, Fife, and West Lothian. They sent money home to their wives and families and friends so that they too could immigrate to Scotland. Some of the Jewish incomers, who often came from economically successful background, settled in the more prosperous area in the West End of Glasgow. In the late 1950s and 1960s, Britain actively encouraged immigrants from several Commonwealth countries in Africa and the Caribbean to come here and ease the labor shortage. These new migrants accepted jobs in public transport, hotels, restaurants, and hospitals, jobs that the British people often didn't want to do themselves. The next wave saw the arrival of Southeast Asian and Africans coming from Malawi, Kenya, Zambia, Liberia, and Uganda. Immigration Acts restricted further primary immigration. So much of those subsequent growth in the British Asian community has come from the birth of second and third generation Asian Britons. Since 2004, Scotland has welcomed a growing influx of arrivals from the new European Union accession states, such as Poland, Czech Republic, Lithuania, and Latvia. Additional immigrant groups have arrived from African nations, including Ghana, Liberia, Rwanda, Somalia, and Senegal, and even more recently from Syria. Undoubtedly, the influx and the continued presence of ethnic minority families in West Dunbartonshire and Greater Glasgow has made an immense contribution to the economy, society, and the local culture.
Zambia is a lovely country. It's the place where the sun shines. We have a lot of warmth there. It's a very friendly country, very sociable country, a very welcoming country. It's not highly populated. It's a big country, but there are just about 9 million people there.
In Nigeria, you have some 200 tribes there. They speak different languages. One doesn't understand the other. So the national language in Nigeria is English. And in Nigeria, when you go to school, the primary school level is mainly based on the tribal language. But once you go to secondary school, it's English all through. And not only that, because English is the official language, when you do your final secondary school examination, you must pass English at the credit level. Otherwise, you won't be able to progress any further, and you can't even get a government employment as well. So I'm from Yoruba in the southwest, but also English is a common language we all share for communicating.
My hometown, we are basically, Pakistan is a quite big country. We are the province of Punjab. My hometown is like Pir Mahal, and it's like a small town, but all the facilities are available and very like a busy town. Because I born there and I had my high schooling there, and after that there was any facility for the further education, so I went to nearby, it's like a 4 or 5 miles away, another big city for my higher education. My brother and sister live in Karachi, so I went for further education in Karachi. I done my graduation in Karachi and came back with my family after 2 years, spending 2 years there. And then I was looking for going to uni. So my family was agree. So I started studying with the Open University. So I done my BA. I was doing actually BA teaching course. I done half. Then I got married and just finished.
There were some cultural differences. It was unusual to go out with whites, particularly to be seen with a white girl. People turned around to have a look at you in a much more serious way. And even going out with other friends, colleagues, boys, you always attract attention more than others, because there were just few of us, very, very few indeed.
When I came to London and there was a fruit, first thing I still remember, because apples and bananas were totally different from the back home, very, very big, and just like they were looking like artificial things. I was asking my husband, are these real?
It was cold. I remember it was snow. That's the first time I've seen the snow. And when we arrived we came to London airport, and my dad bought us these big coats, and I was like, why are we wearing these coats? And I couldn't see all these white people walking around us. They were all wearing coats. I mean, at that time the dress sense was different what we wear today. There was no jeans or anything, but I remember they were wearing dresses and skirts, all that. So it looked nice, and I used to look at the ladies, oh my God, they're so fair, they're so white.
Nobody was educated in our house, in the family, and it was very difficult to speak English. We went to special school. It was for a ethnic school from all over the world. 2.5 months there, then learn how to say yes and no, then go to the other schools.
Cold, rain, dark. That was my first one. The beginning was actually all right. Of course, it's a different country, different culture, different tradition. Everything is different. And my English, I couldn't understand Scottish person at all. So yeah, I had difficult to understand the accent. I really, tatties, flair, that was really a mystery for me. We had difficult because there wasn't any Polish shop at all in Glasgow. When I was in London 20 years ago, they had already shops in London, but it's more people, Polish people over there. Never had any. After 6 months living here, they opened one shop in Paisley. We used to travel to Paisley, and we used to get parcels from Poland with food. And every single time somebody was coming, we used to say, "Oh, can you buy some Polish food?"
I began to integrate with the local sense of humor through Rapsy Nisbet, because he's a Scottish actor, you know, they got film, and he speaks this Scottish jargon in the typical Glasgow accent. So I began to understand more the sense of humor and what people were saying. Through football, I mingle with Scottish friends and other international friends. Through music, I become integrated because all of my friends, people that I know, will be people that I met through my own music work or through the Glasgow Gospel Choir. So it was not one thing. That was my avenue to integrate, and I think through that I integrated very well.
We Zambians, we worship differently. We are very loud. We're extremely loud people. We worship loudly and we exclaim loudly in the church, and it's so difficult to do that. But this church, my church here in Clydebank, they accept my exclamations and loud outbursts, and they love it. So I can see some of them are even copying, you know, doing the same thing, so which is good. Here in UK, people are very reserved. We are not. If we want to scream, cry, fall down, roar, we do it.
One thing I've come to understand, and I thought maybe I could contribute, was to help the Zambians and Africans in diaspora, especially the Zambian community in diaspora, to understand that in order for them to live happily here, they need to integrate. And in order to integrate, they need to mix with the people from Scotland. So I've been trying personally to organize Zambians to mix with Scottish people. So normally what I've done so far is to organize things like morning tea, where we mix with the local people, and also having functions where maybe we celebrate certain days like independence celebration, where we bring in everybody from different countries, and the local people as well, the Scottish people, so that they come together and you know, when they mix, that's how they get to understand.
Oh yes, because to start off with, when you talk about visitation, people that are visiting their family that live in Glasgow, they are paying their airfare to come here. That's encouraging more financial contribution. At the same time, there's more tourism being developed because of some of the things that have been established here. You see different job and development created by government, by responsibility of the UN because of another culture growing in that area. We also see that musical integration, you know, where people have collaborating with Scottish musicians and artists. You know, all of these things, as little as they might seem to be, they are all that impact people. Somebody want to come to Scotland because it's a place that you want to come and play. You want to come and play at SCCC because somebody know the place, they know what it is, they told you about it. And of course, there's more African food in Asda and all of these local supermarkets that you wouldn't find no food before. So they are all financial contribution, as small as they might look.
My youngest boy is a clinical psychologist, and all the time the very serious patients, he look after them, he care them, and he give them full time. So I always tell him that be honest and give them, see your patient as someone, you are a doctor, but you should be there as a parents, you should look after them. He is paying his duty very well, because I used to do that, and at least my 4 children, they went on my nature. So I am quite happy, and that is my contribution.
I feel like every Zambian that has come over here has never sat down there without doing anything. They go to work, because you cannot survive in Scotland if you don't do nothing. Because most of the Zambians that are working here, they work on work permit. So they don't have recourse to social welfare. So they need to pay for a lot of things. And that makes them work. So they contribute a lot. They do a lot of jobs that the local people don't want to do. And also, Zambians have learned from their friends. They don't just come here to work like, just working. No, they also live in a community. They have made friends. They have benefited from their Scottish friends. It's a two-way thing. And, some of the Zambians have got married to Scottish people, so, and they've got children, and, those are integrated, and at the end of the day, we have, that kind of situation going on. So I believe, yes, Zambians have contributed a lot to the economy as well as to the cultural heritage here in Scotland.
Yeah, I'm working in this community for 30 years. I have got a shop now. I'm a shopkeeper myself, and I go even old folks meetings, and I come here for ethnic minority group. I do like to mix things up with my local community. I hear people's problem and I raise them with them as well. I do like, this is my home now, and my children brought up here. They educated here, and they got good jobs. I'm quite happy for them as well, and they are all credit to me.
When I got here, the Caribbean were already here through a program called the Windrush. And they came here purposely because they were brought here to fill in a gap, which was an economic gap. See, that never changed. And when I say that never changed, it never changed. The need never changed. Because if you put water in a plate, you call it a plate of water. If you put the same water that you put in a cup, you call it a cup of water. If you put it in a bowl, you call it a bowl of water. So Africans have been supporting this economy since our grandfathers started coming here, either as slaves, free slaves, or on scholarship. So they should stop us calling us immigrants. We are partners.